What's cracking, guys? BASSFZz here, and I have another video response to do. Now, I oftentimes find it to be very perplexing whenever I see a male feminist, simply because, well, they're male feminists. I know they always seem, for some odd reason, they always seem to dislike the masculine aspect of themselves. You know, and it bothers me a little bit. But I had to respond to this one in particular because of the issues that he brings up in his videos. And I'm going to respond to them. So, what's his name? I think his name is, I don't remember what his name is. I'll have to look it up. I'll put the video in the description box, of course. And without that, let us get this video response started.
So I was reading comments on one of my videos on my Nicola Foti channel, which is a beauty channel, and some of you may be saying, why do you have a beauty channel? You're a boy.
Hit the nail on the head there, I'll tell you that.
And that's the exact point of this video. So these are the comments. Why? Why do boys call other boys girls when maybe they're not as strong as the other boys or they're doing something feminine?
Well, if we're working backwards, if a boy calls another boy a girl because they're doing something feminine, it's because they're doing something feminine. If you call a car that is going in reverse a car that's going in reverse, you see what I'm saying, folks? Like, okay. So, this question was, why is it when a boy calls another boy a girl, it's thought of as an insult? Well, it's only thought of as an insult in its context. And if the context is physical strength, which it usually is, you know, you'll never hear most people say, hey, you read like a girl or something like that. You normally hear them say, you play football like a girl, you run like a girl, you punch like a girl. They oftentimes it's used as to describe something physical in relation to that of a female. Now, the way I use the word girl is an immature female, right? Little girls are small people, small creatures. They're not very strong, right? Physically speaking. Men, on the other hand, are. So if you call a man a little girl, you're saying he's not physically strong in that context. Now, there's nothing wrong with being a girl unless you are supposed to be mature or supposed to be physically strong. That is the only time being a girl really sucks. You have to keep it in its context. That is why it is insulting, because you're saying the person is not strong physically, usually at least.
And why is that an insult? Does being a girl make you less of a person? Are girls just inferior jokes? And it's not—
Once again, it's always about context, right? Think about this one on the other hand. Why is it that women don't take being masculine as something positive, or being masculine as something of a compliment? Because they're not supposed to be. It's that simple. If you see a woman that's butch with broad shoulders and small breasts, you're not going to say, hey, you look like a boy, and expect her to say, thank you. It's just not going to happen. It's because she's a woman. She wants to look like a woman. It's that simple. You know, that is an insult. If you call someone out their name, or you call someone something different than what they are, it's insulting. Just basically speaking, calling a boy a girl is insulting because he's not a girl. It's that simple. The same way calling someone out their name is insulting, even if they aren't that actual name. Think about this. When you call an anorexic girl fat, she still takes it as an insult, even though she isn't actually fat. So let that marinate in your mind for a second.
Not just the boys. Girls use it too. So please stop. Stop perpetuating your own discrimination. Would you let your son play with dolls or your daughter play with toy trucks?
If my son was playing Rescue the Princess from the Evil Dragon, sure, I don't care. If he was playing Dress Up, I'd take something of an issue with that. If he was the magnificent hero that was protecting her from an army of zombies, I'm like, I don't care. But if he's doing her hair and putting makeup on her, and I have a bit of a problem with that. If my daughter was playing with a truck, I wouldn't take too much issue with that. I mean, a truck is simply a transportation device. Not like teleportation, like I hope you guys get that anyway. Now, A lot of you people will probably come up and say somehow I'm a bigot or I'm discriminating or something because I don't think my son should play with toys that are for girls or some stupid idiotic claim like that. But the reason is pretty simple, right? For starters, if you look at what toys are designed to do, toys have oftentimes been created and designed to teach children what society expects of them. And it teaches them what they're supposed to do later in life. That's why you see a lot of toys that are like building blocks. You see a lot of toys that are like swords and guns for little boys and shields and whatnot. You see a lot of baby-like toys for women to teach them to be nurturing. You see, a man's job is to protect those around him. That is how I intend on raising my son. It's going to be his job when he gets his own family to keep them safe from harm. You're not going to be able to do that if you never develop any of those skills. If you never developed a mindset that you have to be responsible for those around you. I'm not saying I'm going to make my son be a Power Ranger or anything like that. However, I am going to teach him and my daughter martial arts. It's that simple. You know, I mean, when you think about it, women nowadays do not like very effeminate men. So if my son grows up to be effeminate and he's not gay, he's not going to be very attractive to other women. And that's a huge problem that I'd have to think about. I have to think about the world the way it is, not the way I wish for it to be. The way I wish for it to be would be that kindness and respect would be getting the girl all the time. That's not the way the world works. Now, am I going to teach my son to be a jerk? Absolutely not. He wouldn't want his sister to be treated badly, so he wouldn't treat any other woman badly. But at the same time, I'm not going to give him this false image that being nice is going to get him the girl, because it probably won't. I have to teach people the way the world is, not the way we want it to be. And then you let them themselves make the decisions on whether or not they're going to change it, or whether or not they're going to conform or accept the responsibilities society and God has given to them.
Would you let your son wear a pink shirt if he wanted to, or get your daughter a football? And if you...
Oh, yeah, absolutely, my son could wear a pink shirt, as long as he was still a masculine man about it, as long as he still respected himself and respected other people, as long as he still stood up for himself and his beliefs. I don't care what color shirt he wears. It could be purple, it could be rainbow, it can be white, it can be sparkling blue. It doesn't make a difference, as long as, in principle, he still remains a great person. Would I give my daughter football? No! I'm not going to give her a football to go play a sport where men are supposed to tackle and beat each other. Physically, she's not going to be able to compete with them. Not unless she was like a gymnast or something like that. But I mean, as a regular, normal person, if she's not in gymnastics, I'm not going to send my daughter to go play a game with men who are bigger, or boys who are going to be stronger than she is and faster than me. No, that's a recipe for disaster. That's ridiculous. Of course not. And it's just biology. It's not because I don't like women. It's quite the opposite. I'm trying to make sure she doesn't get hurt. That's my job as a father. So that's the answer to your questions.
You said no, why not? Because kids at school might make fun of them? Because they're not adhering to societal gender roles? Maybe as parents we should start educating our children otherwise.
Why? You see, oddly enough, whenever I hear feminists and social justice warriors scream out of their behinds that gender roles suck and that they're terrible, they never really explain why. It's usually always something situational or subjective, I think is the better word to use. They dislike gender roles, not because it doesn't work for all of society, but simply because they themselves don't like it. And I feel like that's a terrible way to form a social justice movement. You can't try to change something simply because you don't like it. You have to change it because it's a problem. And gender roles weren't really a problem. They never have been. If they were a problem, we wouldn't exist today. It was gender roles. It was a traditional family that led the building blocks for much of our ancestors. Well, I guess, people who are older lineage. I wouldn't say people from 50 years ago are really ancestors. But even then, our ancestors, you know, the gender roles have always been very helpful to us. They've always given us direction and somewhere to go. Honestly, I believe low self-esteem comes from the fact that people don't know what they're supposed to do. I think I might make a video specifically about that. You know, and I'll explain it throughout the course of this video. So let's let's keep going.
It's been almost a century since, at least in the United States, the women's suffrage movement succeeded in passing the 19th Amendment so that they could vote. Something I learned while looking up the exact date is that Mississippi didn't ratify this amendment until 1984. That's the year I was born. That's crazy. Mississippi is widely considered the most religious state, so it seems that they were just following orders. In the first book of Timothy in the Bible, it says, "I do not permit a woman to teach or to have authority over a man. She must be silent."
One thing I dislike is whenever people want to bring up the Bible, they're always taking it out of its appropriate context, right? And I could quite literally make an entire video series about how people misquote, misrepresent the Bible, and take it out of its context. I think I just might invest in that. Maybe. Do not quote me on that. However, a lot of people will always look at 1 Timothy, and they never really talk or ask themselves, why? Why is a woman not supposed to have authority over man? Why is a woman not supposed to speak or teach or do anything like that? Why? Is it simply because they're misogynistic? I would argue, no, not at all. I don't think I can answer exactly why in this video in particular, but I think it's important to note that it's still brought out of its context. And I mean, honestly, maybe I can answer this question by just simply saying, look at feminism. Look at what feminism has done to men. Women having authority over men has undermined them, has taken away from their masculinity, has made them ashamed of being who they are. Perhaps that is why 1 Timothy addresses that. But I could be wrong.
Of course not everybody follows that Bible verse, but it's in there, and the elected officials in Mississippi at the time obviously did, so that's all it took to oppress an entire group of people.
Women as a group have never been oppressed. Once again, they are quite literally the most important sex between the two of us. So,
on the flip side, I saw Hal Sparks talking about how you need the balls to do something. But in reality, the testicles are the weakest part of a man. And
now, perhaps that may be true. I'm pretty sure it is true. However, even if the testicles are the weakest part of our bodies, it is still the defining organ that makes us men. It is still the defining organ that pumps the testosterone, that changes the way our brains are, that makes our hair grow, that makes our muscles bigger and stronger. You cannot deny that. That is basic biology, my friend. So when people say you have to have the balls, you have to have the testosterone, you have to have the factor that makes you a man, that's what they're saying. Now, granted, is them, man up and, have some balls, is that usually used to undermine people? Yeah, absolutely. But I think this kind of alludes back to the last point I made in my video response to Connor. Pride in masculinity is an issue and is a problem. It is not the concept of masculinity itself.
Do you really need them to be able to do something? Since only men have balls, it suggests that girls will never be good enough to do things that men do.
In terms of physical strength, absolutely. Testosterone, once again, gives us the ability to make our muscles bigger and stronger. Women don't have a healthy flow of testosterone, so they can't. In terms of physicality, a woman will never be able to compare to a man in terms of physicality. Sorry, and no matter how much they work out, no matter how much weight they put on, they'll never be able to get as big and as strong as a man unless they start taking testosterone. And well, that's the point. It's testosterone that does that, and women don't produce a lot of testosterone naturally. That's why. So technically, yeah, they're right. If a woman doesn't have any balls, no, she can't compare to a man physically. On a strictly physical level, no, women are not equals. And there's no argument for against, sorry. You're not going to win against biology, my friend. Sorry. Just, I apologize to you. Even then, like in my other videos, I already talked about the power, the inherent power men and women have. It's called, Can Men and Women Really Be Equal? I'll put a link in the description box so you guys can see me refute that BS in its entirety. Let's continue.
Why not let your daughter dream of being a firefighter? And similarly, why not let your son join the ballet if he wants to dance? This just proves to me that women still aren't considered equals, as much as our society may have progressed, and as much as we, as a global culture, think we may have. And it also appears that women's struggle is pretty close to the gay struggle.
You know what? I'm gonna save this whole gay struggle thing for quite literally its own video. That's right. I'm promising you guys another video. And I'm going to talk about how gay people are oppressed or struggling. Let's continue.
Aside from those who use religion to oppress gay people, there are others who just think gay men are feminine, which apparently is a negative quality.
It is if you are the opposite sex. Once again, I don't hear you arguing about how women can be able to be masculine, how a masculine woman is somehow a compliment. So why in the world would it be true for the opposite? Why are always the qualities of women such a spectacular thing, but the qualities of men are horrible? That makes no sense to me. Let's continue.
And that, you know, gay people don't exactly fit into gender role norms. And so they see them as less than men. What is less than man? Is man the top of the totem pole? I mean, just because you're a straight white male, that makes you better than a gay black female? This I don't understand.
Really, you don't understand it because you're looking at it the wrong way. It isn't about who's better, who's stronger, who's weaker. It's about function and being. That's all it's about. Feminine women are more attracted to masculine men the same way masculine men are more attracted to feminine women. It's biology. You are picking a fight with biology. You just will not win. You will be defeated. I'm sorry. I don't really have much to say on that, man.
And even within the gay community, there are masculine gays who think they're better than more effeminate gays just because they're closer to society's ideal. I've known gay men who've acted feminine since they were little. Do you think they were just jumping on a trampoline one day and actively thought, hey, you know, I'm gonna start moving more fluidly like girls do, and maybe I'll change my voice so it's higher somehow? No.
They may not be getting a healthy flow of testosterone into their bloodstream. Well, I mean, they are children, so they haven't hit puberty yet. Or maybe they're growing up around without their father figure. Maybe that's what's going on. Maybe that's what's wrong with that picture. Okay? Once again, we have to prepare children for the way the world is, not the way we want it to be. That's what's wrong with that.
Oh, that's just how they are. And what's wrong with that? And what's wrong with tomboys and girls that tend to like boy things? I'm pretty sure you know my answer. It's nothing. Nothing's wrong with it. And guess what? Your genitalia doesn't necessarily determine what gender you are. So
Wow. Golly gee willikers. Well, you know what? You know what I decided to do, guys? I decided that I am going to play you guys a clip from a video that one of my favorite YouTubers I have subscribed to, named the Internet Aristocrat, has done. I believe he can explain this a lot better than I could even attempt to explain it. Right? So this is in one of his Tumblrisms videos. I suggest you go check his channel out. I suggest you go subscribe. Awesome channel. And I'm just going to let him take it from here. Roll the clip.
Is more normal, or equally as normal, even though statistically transsexuals are what you would call an outlier from any population you might study. No, I'm sorry, I'm using those magical crazy words again that academics might. Boy, they sure like to talk about gender though, don't they? Misgendering, gender me this, my gender, your gender, our gender, everybody's gender. Now maybe you're one of those old-fashioned people that still uses the term sex. Yeah, male and female, right? One can produce eggs, one can produce spermatozoa. But you would be behind the times. No, we're using gender now, all right? It doesn't matter what you're born with or assigned with, okay? That's just society keeping you down. No. We want to talk about gender. And who better to, talk about gender with than the person responsible for the new current definition of it, John Money, a renowned psychologist and sexologist who was the person who pushed it to the forefront in America and in psychology. In fact, John Money is the origin point of all the shit these people spew. So what's John Money like? He must be a great individual, a very learned man, who's very tolerant and accepting and academically sound, right? I mean, that has to be the individual that's decided to create this division between sex and gender and spin it off into these wonderful things all these Tumblrs like to talk about. Well, if you were to, I don't know, take a moment to look him up on Wikipedia, you might find a strange little link going to somebody called David Raymer. I don't know who that is. It must not be somebody important. Maybe that's somebody John Money helped, right? I mean, he's somehow connected to John Money. I don't know. Let's just take a look. What the hell? David Raymer, 1965 to 2004. Oh, he's dead. Oh, well, let's get whatever. Was a Canadian man, born as a healthy male, but was sexually reassigned and raised as female after his penis was accidentally destroyed during circumcision. That's a bit rough. Psychologist John Money, oh, here's the connection, oversaw the case and reported the reassignment as successful, and as evidenced that gender identity is primarily learned. That's interesting. So he used this as a foundational piece for his ideology, his philosophy. I guess this must have turned out well for David. I mean, here's John Money, the person responsible for putting this idea out there, and here's a case where a boy is disfigured, but John's like, hey, it's okay, we'll just cut the rest of it off and give you some hormone pills, call you Susie, and you'll be fine. Oh, wait a second, though. What does this say? Academic sexologist Milton Diamond later reported that Raymer failed to identify as a female since the ages of 9 to 11, and then began living as a male at age 15. Severe depression, committed suicide, financially unstable, troubled marriage. Sounds like everything worked out well for him. Oh, except for that whole suicide thing. But you can't blame that on Dr. Money. He probably handled this with the utmost care. Oh, what is this? Dr. Money forced the twins to rehearse sexual acts involving thrusting movements, with David playing the bottom role. David Raymer painfully recalled that as a child he had to get down on all fours with his brother Brian Raymer up behind his butt, with his crotch pressed against his buttocks. Dr. Money forced David in another sexual position to have his legs spread with Brian on top. Dr. Money also forced the children to take their clothes off and engage in genital inspections, and on at least one occasion took photographs of the two children during these activities. Wow. I think my spidey sense is tingling here. I don't know why, though. Let me see if I can put these pieces together. A man named John Money, a sexologist/psychologist, who put forward the idea of gender as we know it today, and is the preeminent figure that pushed that forward in the American vocabulary, the vernacular. He put it out there. He's the one who said, hey, sex and gender are different, is responsible for the mutilation of a toddler, for his molestation, his financial instability, his severe depression, and then his suicide. And to top it off, this particular case is the one he used as evidence that his gender identity theory is correct, because gender identity is primarily learned, except for the fact that David Raymer killed himself. He killed himself. Well, you know what? I am a horrible cis oppressor. I'm just a bigoted straight person. So what do I know, right? Left field here.
Surprise, there are transgender people in the world who may have been born with a penis, but psychologically in every other way possible, they're female. And likewise, there are people who were born with a vagina who have an internal sense of being male. This isn't weird. It's nature. And you have no...
Actually, by definition, it is. It is abnormal. If they only make up, 7% of the population, it would by definition be abnormal. Not saying that there's a problem with it, but I mean, by definition, it's not normal. Not saying that you're lesser of a person if you think that you were born the wrong sex, but that doesn't make it normal. Relatively speaking, it doesn't make it normal. Biologically speaking, it doesn't make it normal. Once again, this doesn't mean that you are a horrible person, that there's something wrong with you. You're just not normal. Sorry.
Right to discriminate against these people. What, just because you have a penis and you feel like you should have a penis, so, you're better?
I'm not really sure why this is, but it seems like the shorter the video I'm responding to, the longer my overall response to it is. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Listen, okay, I have a penis and I have some testicles, okay? I have never felt like a boy. I have never felt like a man. I don't know what they're talking about when they say, I feel like I'm a woman, or I feel like I'm a man. I don't get that. Because even as a child, I was always told, you know, that boys don't cry, because I used to cry a lot. I cry a lot now. I cry a lot now. No one ever told me, you know, what it means to be a boy, or how I should feel as a boy, how I should feel as a man. You know, because when I cried a lot, my parents always told me to shut up and stop crying, because boys don't cry. And I always thought, well, if I have tear ducts, why is water coming out of them? Right? That was always my response, right? Apparently boys can't cry because I'm crying and I'm a boy. That's how it just was. It just was for me. And even then, I'm still pretty effeminate when, in some cases. You know, I remember one of my friends told me, I was sitting down and I was talking to her, and she literally said, she's like, you know, sometimes I forget that you're a guy. And she keeps talking. I'm like, whoa, wait. You're not going to roll past it like you didn't just say that. So she said, and, you know, I didn't mean it as an insult. It's just that I usually tell the stuff I'm telling you to girls. And I didn't take it as an insult, because I understood what she was saying. Even though she said I was a little effeminate, what she was saying was it was easy for her to talk to me. I'm not going to lie to any of you guys. I am perhaps not the most masculine person you will ever see in your lifetime. But I am a man, and I am masculine. There are some things I do that are stereotypically feminine, but that doesn't make me less of a person. And I'm not going to advocate that everyone changes or everyone should just get rid of masculine and feminine, because we need those. We need the masculine and we need the feminine. Okay? And it's perfectly fine if men want to be men and women want to be women. Stop trying to mix the gender roles.
And yes, I said penis and vagina. They're not bad words, they're body parts. I'm a feminist because I'm sick of the word girl being an insult. And I'm tired of pink not being a boy's color. And I'm tired of gender roles that restrict a child's ability to grow into who they are. So why don't...
You know, here's one funny thing I always thought was hilarious, or really ironic. If you look at it as an evolutionary, biological kind of way, where do these gender roles come from? Society. Where does society come from? People. Human beings created the gender roles that I guess society continues to perpetuate. And for the most part, it has always worked. It has worked well. If it was not for these roles that we had, we would have ceased to exist. If more women were to have fought in wars, there would quite literally have been less people overall. So, here's one ironic thing about the whole evolution creationist debate. Even when you look at this thing from an evolutionary point of view or a Judeo-Christian point of view, it makes sense that men are the fighters and the protectors, that we are the head, alright? In the Bible, Jesus has always said the man is the head of the house, and the woman is supposed to be submissive and subjected to him. And oddly enough, women want to be submissive to men. And even then, even if you look at it from Genesis' point of view, Genesis has already told us what we men are going to do. We're going to continue to work all our lives until we die again. The same way a woman is always going to be ruled over by a man. I learned this from Arini. You should check his channel out. Genesis was not prescriptive, it was descriptive. And whether you want to look at this from an evolutionary point of view or a Judeo-Christian point of view, at the end of the day, the man works, he's physically stronger. The woman is nurturing, she takes care of the children. Sorry, that's a fight with biology that you guys are trying to do, and you will fail. Well guys, this video response quite literally is way too long for the video I was responding to. So I'm going to end it here, because that was pretty much the last point he made. So guys, if you liked this video, please go ahead and click that like button. Go ahead and click that subscribe button. Comment in the comment box below, and as always, have a great day. I'll see you cool cats soon.